No, everything is not awesome. This is gonna be an unpopular one, isn't it? Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome to an all-new Talkin Movies. As always, I'm your host, the real Geno Reynolds, and today we're gonna be talking about the Lego Movie 2, the second part. I will warn you that though I won't try to deal too much into spoiler territory, I might say some things plot-wise that might be a little bit spoilery, so just be warned. I'm not going to totally ruin the movie for you, but I will say some things that probably will be plot points, so just bear with me. What this movie is about is it takes place 5 years after the events of Taco Tuesday and the Duplo invasion that was shown at the end of the first movie when the sister was allowed to play along with the brother. And the world has basically gone Mad Max. Everyone's had to toughen up, and everyone's had to grow get an edge. Except for Emmett, of course, who hasn't changed one bit. He's still the same optimistic dude that he's been the entire time. But when a new invader comes and steals pretty much all of the heroes from the first movie, it's up to Emmett to maybe have to grow up a bit, gain an edge that Wildstyle is wanting to see in him. She wants him to get this edge, and he needs to maybe find this edge so he can rescue her and his friends. And in his adventure, he runs into his polar opposite named Rex Dangervest, who is basically everything that Emmett is not. And it's up to them to rescue everybody and stop the invaders from fulfilling their plan. Now, I will say some certainties here. When it comes to this movie, the animation's still amazing, like the first movie. Instead of like what they did with Lego Ninjago, where it was only Legos when it needed to be, they went back to the everything is Legos, so that works really well, and it still looks fantastic. I think most people that enjoyed the first movie are going to like this one too. And I'm also certain that this movie is going to destroy the box office this weekend, which will probably lead to the Lego Movie 3, the third part. Here's the thing. This movie is fine. If you really enjoy this movie, I'm not going to say you're wrong. I'm not going to say you don't have a right to like it. I will say that for me, it didn't offer up enough new to make me really care. It basically does the same thing as the first movie. You have the same type of story. It involves the things that are going on in the Lego world being parallel to the things that are going on in the real world. There's a crisis to stop. This time it's Momageddon. You have the same type of humor, the same use of cameos. It's just everything feels way too similar to the first movie. And I'm okay with more of the same, but in a movie that has a message about creativity, you would think they would be a lot more creative when it comes to everything, but they're not. So that being said, like I said, with the humor, it's the same pun type of jokes or play on words, and especially with the plot, it's pretty obvious what Momageddon is. And if I said what it is, it would spoil the movie, but you pretty much have an idea when you first hear the term Momageddon what Momageddon's going to be. The characters, it's a lot of the same. I mean, Emmett's still the optimistic, not so intelligent person. Wildstyle still the edgy one, even though we find a different side to her in this. All to sell a new minifig. I'll get into that in a minute. You have the same use of cameos, except these characters, they just kind of say, hey, look, here's this person. Hey, look, here's this person. Hey, look. And just over and over they do that, unlike the first movie where a lot of the characters played into the plot. Now, they do it with a couple, like Superman plays into the plot. And, I mean, it is Warner Brothers, so they push the Justice League a little bit. And there is a kind of funny joke about new and old Aquaman and things like that. There's little bits here and that it's okay, but nothing ever made me like really laugh. But they're like, you know, when it comes to cameos, like, oh, here's NBA's Gary Payton, and here's WNBA legend Cheryl Swoops, and oh, hey, here's Gandalf. You remember Gandalf, right? Here's Bruce Willis, and since apparently she has to be in everything, here's Ruth Bader Ginsburg, just to be there. So there's a lot of that. There's a bunch of them, whether it be Warner Brothers, DC characters, or whatever. I mean, there's just a lot of that going on, but they really don't. A lot of them don't have a play on the overall story. Some of them do, but a lot of them are just there to say, "Hey, we're here again." Or we're here for the first time. You had Abraham Lincoln again, you know, Will Forte doing it. It's the same thing. He's barely in it. So there's a lot of that, and it wasn't really anything new. When it came to the plot, being that you've seen the first movie, you already know that this is going to have something to do with the family. And yes, they do show flashes of the family, but so I think you're kind of supposed to know, but you know that the side that Emmett thinks is the bad guys might not be the bad guys. You know who the real bad guy is. You know that Rex Dangervest is, you know who he is. I mean, it's pretty obvious who he is. And again, that's another way to sell another minifig. Speaking of that, I mean, everyone's got at least somewhat of a new look. Metalbeard has a different body. Benny has a new arm, so of course you can have a new minifig there. Batman wears a few different costumes. Wildstyle, her hair changes, so of course new minifig. Emmett puts on a new outfit for a bit, new minifig. I mean, this movie, I mean, yes, we all know that even the first one was there to mainly sell toys, to sell you a bunch of plastic Lego bricks. But at least the first movie had an interesting take on everything. But this one just took the first movie, and sure, it's a different story, but it's a more obvious story, knowing that it involves this family again. You can kind of figure out what's going on, so there's no real mystery there. You know where the plot's going. You know what Mamageddon is and what it entails. And just the unoriginality of it really hurt it for me. So again, the movie's fine. I got some enjoyment out of it, but honestly, most of the time I was pretty bored. But let me tell you what the worst part of this movie is. Okay, I gotta say this. I understood the appeal of Everything is Awesome from the first movie, but we all knew that it was going to end up being a bad thing, that song was popular. Because now the entire freaking score for this movie is music that sounds like Everything is Awesome. Heck, there's a different version of Everything is Awesome. There's a different version of it called Everything is Not Awesome. So it's the same type of music, that same techno poppy annoying music the entire movie. There is a song in this called This Song Will Get Stuck in Your Head, and boy does it ever. There's one song I thought was kind of good, not for the way it sounded, but because of the subject matter. It involves Will Arnett's Batman and Tiffany Haddish's Queen, I can never say her name. Whatever I wanna be. It's supposed to be Whatever I Wanna Be. So their song together involves superheroes. So I thought it was kind of funny. But really, it's a lot of the same stuff. And I was hoping that Warner Brothers Animation would come up with something new. But my fears about this movie were totally warranted, because this movie is nothing but a wannabe rehash of plot, tone, humor, everything, the sale of toys that the first movie was, except that, again, it was more of the same. So without an original story, it just felt like a really long commercial to me. Again, if you enjoy it, if you love this movie, I understand. I really do. But for me, there was nothing new here that made me ever want to see this movie again. My kids will want to watch it, and I'll let them watch it, and I'll take them to see it. But for me, I know this movie is again going to win the box office. People are going to love it. It's probably going to get nominated for an Oscar. It may win the Oscar, but it felt like a 2-hour long commercial to me, and there was nothing new here that made me love it. And to me, that it's more, not so much I thought it was a bad movie, because the movie's fine. It was just a really big letdown for me, and less than awesome. That's going to be all for this edition of Talkin Movies. If you like what you've heard here, please subscribe to the Real Geno YouTube channel, like this video, and if you have anything to say about the Lego Movie 2, please feel free to leave a comment in the section below. Until next time, I'm your host, the Real Geno, Geno Reynolds. See you later.